you a social person? Like, you got a lot of like people that you normally talk to and stuff?
Uh, the biggest majority of my friends are just people that I work with.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Same here. Same here. You work
Um,
with or game with.
but I mean, yeah, yeah. But I mean, at work, like, I'm a fucking social butterfly. Like, it's.
You,
What's the difference
you know when
between
you say that,
social
you
and
remind me of the
social?
fucking caterpillar from Bugs Life. Like
I
just
am a
saying,
beautiful butterfly.
yeah, yeah. That dude's hilarious. I'm flying. They're like, no fucking way. Uh. Was he like German or something? He's like, that's I'm flying.
That's a
He's
I'm a
like
beautiful
thinking back on it. I
butterfly.
think he had a yeah. I think he had like a German accent. I think. Now
I
think
think
about
so,
it.
yeah.
I gotta rewatch
Sure.
that movie now. Fucking hilarious. Well, welcome everybody to the podcast. Welcome, welcome to Painful Podcast episode 4. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic Saturday. This is my buddy White Wolf, Fleet Admiral of Payne's Armada, and Chip, Quartermaster, and myself. I think I'm just Admiral, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just
I'm just a bum, yeah. What's up, Lav? Good morning. We're going to be talking about the Tier 6 DD Moss all the way up to the highly anticipated Z-52 Bureau project that I'm working on right now. Pretty excited about it. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. We got the tier thing listed here. Let me see if I can get this set up here. One second. So the display that I want is gonna be that one. Perfect. All right. So we'll talk about mass, however you want to say it. Um, tier 6. What are your thoughts initially when you hear about the tier 6 mass, White Wolf? We'll start with you.
uh
Like before even looking at
it
anything, what do you know about it just off the cuff?
I know that she, just like the rest of the, I mean, this is probably going to be repeated 1,000 times when
Mm-hmm.
talking about this,
Yep.
but their their German DDs in whole are just, they're great at two things. They're great all rounders. You can build them however you want, depending on your play style as a gunboat or destroy or a torp boat. But more importantly, they're some of the best cap contesters in the game with that sonar. Like, it is truly powerful to, a DD's pushing you, to pop that smoke, pop sonar, and just rain hell on them. And they can't do nothing about it. So, the Moss, I mean, the Moss was great when it first came out, um, for the reasons that I said. It has been power crept, though.
For sure.
Actually, by some of the premiums German destroyers at the tier, I think it was a Z-35,
Oh yeah.
is like, the sonar's way better. I mean, we've all, if you played any arena or ranked at tier 6, you're gonna see the Z-35, but the Moss is right there behind it. Like, the, I mean, they're just, it's just a great boat.
What say you, Chip?
Honestly, I see it as a ship that can also be useful for like making an enemy stand hold because like I know that like you could run like a torpedo boat, like a reload build on this ship. Like one of the things I've seen that it's pretty good for keeping battleships in a certain area
Mm.
or like moving them around because the thing about it is that sure, you could run Eric Bay and all that, but the thing I do love about it is that it has really fast reloading torps. Like those torps are pretty good at one job, and that's to like keep battleships wary.
Right.
Cruisers, on the other hand, it's good, I guess, against cruisers. It's mainly good though to turn them, I guess, because like if a cruiser knows you're shooting torps, might as well try to get them turned so that your people can shoot at them.
Right.
Like it's a good equalizer. It's really
Now
good.
that's another thing. Not to cut you off, Chip, but like especially if you talk about torp boats, like the German DDs have probably one of the you know when you this when that this DD has that a certain commander, it's blue for you.
Yep.
Like
Oh
you
yeah.
Yep.
can spam torps like no tomorrow. They don't do no damage, but sort of like how the like we'll just talk about the previous campaign, the Jaeger. Jaeger ain't doing a lot of damage, but when you're spamming torps out like that, you're causing floods. And when you go up like a BB, like it's funny for me as a battleship player, listening to other battleship players talk. Oh, he do no damage. Well, then all of a sudden, boom! Here comes another torp out of nowhere in the next 30 seconds, and boom, you're on a permanent flood.
Hmm.
And how floods and fires work in this game, it goes on the percent of health you got in terms of how fast you lose it. So as a battleship player, you drop quick, and it's like okay, cool. You only hit me for 5,000 damage with a torp, but guess what? That flood is ticking for 10,000 plus every several seconds. Like it'll melt you quick.
Yep.
I
Blue
think
is
the most
unbelievable.
I think the most you lose out of a flood is around like no like 20 to 30K
Like I said, it
around
really,
there.
like I said, it depends on what ship is
Yeah,
being flooded.
Yeah. And a lot of
Like,
times too, like the torpedoes, they're if you look at how they're spread out, even in a tight spread, you're gonna hit two torpedoes. They're not like the Japanese or Americans where they're a little bit more spread out on a tight spread. So back to the Blue Furia. For those of you who don't know, we're watching. Blue Furia is a commander out of the Halloween, I believe.
yeah.
I think it
yes,
was the first Halloween. I'm pretty sure that it came out, or second one.
I don't
Um,
remember.
First,
yeah, I
first
don't remember
one.
which one it was, but it's one of the Halloween commanders. We'll take a look at some of her perks here real quick, kind of as a side note. Um, her specialty is mosquito brutes. Decreases torpedo detectability while decreasing the reload time of the torpedo damage or torpedo reload time, and decreasing the damage of the torpedoes by 40%. So one of the arguments that people have is like you were saying, they don't do a whole lot of damage, right? Well, um, the problem that I see with that mentality is that if you don't have this perk and go with a torp build Eric Bay, um, where you're just looking at like the damage and maybe the concealment. So then you still have your torp damage. You don't have the reload time that Blue Furia has, but you have the torp damage, which is like I think 14.4 on average, um, for the German DDs. But this takes it all the way down to I believe 9 or 10k, maybe a little less. But here, let's look at the torps here. So we got 8,600 damage instead of 14.4. So it's quite a bit of a drop. It's 40% less, but you can shoot them twice as fast. So I still feel like you're doing that 10% more potential damage over time with floods than you would if you just had your regular torp. So it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to run a gunboat build or do you want to run a torp build? I think that if you run a torp build with mass or gunboat, you're going to be rewarded regardless. You have the smoke, you have the sonar, and you have the escape, the maneuverability of the engine boost that lasts quite a bit too. So it lasts 2 minutes, reloads every three. So a lot of times you're gonna get rewarded with whatever build you have. In my opinion, the only thing is that you want to keep your concealment as low as possible with your builds. You don't want to sacrifice too much of it. You do not have a heal. You don't have um, like you're not you're you're not very tanky. Obviously, you're tier 6, so you still want to kind of make sure that you keep your health pool like where it's at. And I'm pretty sure this has a pretty good HP for tier 6, almost 20k with this build. Um, and I use Sims, and I think there's another commander that might increase HP. I'm not sure. I thought that there was one, but
Hide
okay,
does
Hyde
as
does.
well.
Okay.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have him. I don't have him, but next time I get a chance, I will get him because he's someone that everyone talks about a lot.
You know, and that's like just talking about commanders, and this is why the commanders make the boats ultimately in this game.
Yep.
And the German DD's commanders are just truly special. Like, we talked about blue with torps and whatnot. But another one for gunboat is Eric Bay. I think everybody who I know who is either a destroyer main or plays them a lot has a 16-4 Eric Bay. Because he has the best inspiration for a destroyer in the game with destroyer detectability. And putting him with a gunboat, running him as a commander, you have that inspiration already built in. And then you can pair that with Swirsky. And whenever I was taught, like, I prefer gunboat destroyers over torp destroyers. I hate torps. And I was taught one thing, and it's helped me become really good at it, is that I would prefer to get more concealment out of my gunboats than more health. Because whoever takes that first shot usually wins the fight. And you can pair Eric Bay with Swirsky, and you're getting like 5 point. I mean, that's like, we haven't talked about it yet, but like Z23, which I'm grinding right now, it's like 5.1 detectability.
Yeah.
Everything else has 5.5, 5.6. Like, you have the first shot every time, and that is so huge in a fight.
Yep.
So, like, just having Bay, I mean, he's used on everything. Like, it's just their commanders are amazing.
Yep. Anything to add, Chip?
I mean, honestly, a lot of things I really do like. I mean, I don't know, people. People like to run stealth and all that. I do agree with that. One of the things that I also love about it is listen closely. That's one of the perks I like about Eric Bay. Whenever you're running like a sonar,
Mm-hmm.
because like it really helps you out because it gives you 2 extra sonars and like you go to get a lot faster. The duration may not be like as long, but like it lets you have like a lot more to use instead of just having two.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to place this ship in a tier here. It's going to be S tier all the way down to D tier. So it goes S being the superior, A, B, C, and D all the way down there. So right now, as it sits, in the, I guess, given the fact that it's been power crept at tier 6, it's still a great boat regardless. But comparing this to other DDs in the tier, including premiums, because in all reality, premiums are played in standard, so you can't exclude them because they still go against each other. Where would we place the Moss?
I would personally place Moss at a B tier,
Yeah.
just because of its all-around playstyle.
Okay. Laugh says A tier. We'll leave it at B tier for now, and if we change it, we can change it down the road or whatever. But, so that concludes our talk about the Moss. I don't think we really missed anything. A lot of times we don't really talk about this, but the AP shells on these boats are incredibly underrated. People don't know about it until a little too late. But purely broadside DDs, try AP. Try AP and see what happens. You don't really realize how awesome that AP is. Even at tier 5, the T61, I think was what it's called. Right?
Yeah, no, 61, fair 5.
Oh, 6. Oh,
yeah. That one's pretty nasty. I know we don't have this on this list because we're doing 6 to legendary, but that one's another one that could contend with anybody else at that tier. And those AP shells help a lot along with that sonar. So the next ship we're going to be talking about, we're going to skip over the Z31 for now. We're going to go over to the Z35 and Z39s respectively. So we'll talk about the Z35. You don't have the engine boost or the upgrades that the Moss has at the same tier. Let me unmute that. Hold on a second. You don't have the engine boost. but you have a much longer sonar in terms of range. I believe the duration's
5
a little
kilometer, let's
less.
see. Duration is 100 seconds.
Yeah,
So
20
it's
seconds
around.
less, but
Yeah.
it's almost an entire kilometer longer. So you kind of make up for that. Again, AP shells, gunboat build for sure. But if you use Blipfuria, you can get, like we were talking about, you can get even lower torpedo reload time. And I think you can get like 44 seconds. It's disgusting and annoying as hell. But on top of that, you got the sonar, you got the smoke again. You don't have the engine boost, and you don't have the modules. But what you make up for is in firepower, in my opinion, compared to the Moss.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So Wolf, we'll go with you first, and then we'll go with Chip.
Okay. So, Z-35. When I play Tier 6 Arena and I play Tier 6 Ranked, I love the kid. Absolutely love it. It is my favorite. It's one of my top 5 played boats in the game. I absolutely will spam the hell out of it. The only boat at Tier 6 that, when I'm main kid, I have to fully respect 1000% is a Z-35. That thing is such a hard counter to another destroyer, especially another gunboat destroyer at the tier. It is crazy. I don't play a lot of tier 6 in standard, so I can't speak for how much it's played during standard, but I can speak for it in ranked and arena. It is truly disgusting. The 128s with rapid firing hits like a truck. I don't really see a lot with torps, but the guns on the thing are amazing. And what makes her special is that she has the longest sonar at tier 6 at 5 kilometers of detecting ships. It is so hard to counter. Like, you either have to fully commit to it and lose half your health to kill it, go after it, or when you see that thing smoke up, you're gonna have to. You're waiting for a while. You're like, okay, we're not getting anywhere near this area. And because of all of that and the respect that it ensues on in those competitive game modes, I'll leave my ranking when we get to that. But it is truly an amazing gunboat destroyer at the tier.
What say you, Chippy?
I would say that the ship is like how Wolf says. It's a very devastating destroyer. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get near it when it
No.
smokes up and all that. Like you could torp it, but like even then, it's gonna spot those torps very easy.
Right.
One of the things I also do love is that it's got a good pen angle. Like if you notice, like the AP,
Mm-hmm.
amazing pen angles. Like you could, like a destroyer could try to angle on you, and that AP is gonna devastate them. Like
Yeah,
it's a
this was
good
actually one of the
currency.
first DDs that I started using AP on, and started understanding the power of the German AP on these gunboats is insane. You give any angle to him, like you're gonna get messed up. And the nice thing is, like when you're going against typical DD players, what's gonna happen is like they're gonna see you right, and then they're gonna make the U-turn. By the time they finish that U-turn, they're already gonna be down to half health.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a lot of times, uh, I think one of the weaknesses of the Z-35 is that it can't catch up to a lot of other DDs that have the engine boost. But obviously that's temporary. Eventually, it's gonna catch up to you and mess you up. But in that U-turn, everyone does it. It's almost like a rite of passage. You see a DD, and all of a sudden everyone's making the U-turn. But this is one of the few DDs, including the kid, that if you do a U-turn in front of it, you're gonna get fucked up. But you don't really have a choice in that matter. And a lot of times, the only counter to that is backing up into a cap, which is what experienced players do. But other times, when you're even getting into that position, the Z-35 is gonna outspot you. Even if you're in a kit, it's gonna outspot you, and that's where it excels. And when you use Eric Bay, you have that concealment perk or the inspiration on top of Swirsky. Um, and I also use Sims on here because you double up on the concealment and you get HP. So that's one of the biggest factors with all these gunboat builds on the German DDs is that you have that advantage where other DDs don't have that. They can't. Either have to run double concealment, then they don't have the HP. But now you have the HP and the double concealment, so you're already at an advantage by default. Um, One thing that I will say about the German destroyers, I want to say that they're pretty average in terms of maneuverability, compared to like the American DDs, or even the Italians. They can wiggle, and the German destroyers really can't. But their average speed, their average maneuverability, the reload is slightly below. Oh, sorry, yeah, slightly above average. Um, and so is like the torpedo damage is average. The torpedo reload is average. Everything about it is meant for it to be a jack of all trades. It's a utility DD, and a lot of other DDs don't have that ability. The Germans have that special. Most of them have the sonar, the really good guns, and the torps and the smoke. So they just have all the utilities that you don't have. So you don't want to challenge it 1v1. You want to get your teammates involved. It requires a neighborhood to take one of these guys out. So unless you torp it, that's and it's an inexperienced player that isn't like paying attention or whatever. But by default, these DDs in a 1v1 already have the advantage because of those factors. So I especially love the Z35. It's a fantastic boat, and like I said, you don't want to if you have the option to not take a 1v1 against it, I would. If you got like a cruiser with you, one thing that I've noticed with the Germans especially is that they can get their modules taken out pretty quickly, especially their torpedoes. I think playing in a German DD, I get my torpedoes taken out way more than any other nation. I'm not sure if that's just a thing or if it's just because I'm trash. I don't know. But like my guns get incapacitated and my torps get incapacitated way more than any other nation that I've played. But like I said, you play the sucker smart, you're unbeatable at this tier with this boat. Bless you.
Sorry about that.
So with all that said, do you guys have anything else to add before we add it to a tier?
No, but just in general, when we're talking about all of these destroyers with guns, is the German destroyers on this line have the weakest alpha of HE shells in the game with destroyers. However, though, have some of the highest AP. So you really only are shooting your HE to start fires and knock modules out. But that I'm telling everybody here to please start using AP, even against another destroyer. Like it will truly tear shit up, like no other. Until we start talking about the alternate German destroyer line, then that's on a whole other spectrum.
Yeah. Yep. So Z35, I would put it at A tier. What say you guys?
Oh yeah, I could agree with that. A tier.
For the power of it as a gunboat, honestly, I would say S tier.
S tier for the tier. Got it.
For the tier,
Yep. Yeah, I agree with
I would
that.
say that.
I agree with that.
The next boat, a little bit different opinion on it, but Z35 is S tier
Got it.
for gunboat.
Yep. Yep. All right. So next up, the Z39. Wolf, we'll start with you.
Okay. So in terms of the Z39 compared to the Z35, due to the fact that they're both premiums, they actually do both have the same sonar range to detect ships. That caught me off guard. I honestly thought Z35 was better. It does get the engine boost on top of all of that. Unlike 35, you're getting a little less torp range. But if, like we sort of talked about, I feel these two premiums work best as gunboats.
Mm-hmm.
What the biggest difference between the Z35 and the Z39 are the gun caliber. The Z35 is 128s that shoot. You can get it down to about 3-second reload, something like that. The Z39 has 150s. So you're looking at, if you put everything on, I think like maybe in the fives. It's 7.5 base. I think you can get it down to 5. I don't have Z-39. I'm just looking at stats and trying to remember what other boats with this high reload when you put everything on. I think it's around 5. If I'm wrong, correct me. So you have to look at it like this. You have to ask yourself this question when choosing to play one of these two boats. Because like I said, they both have the same sonar range. They still have the same impact with that. Do you want the faster firing guns or do you want the harder hitting guns? I'm a person, especially because I like I sort of said a second ago, I love the kid. I love the kid. I love the
Hmm.
kid. I love the Fletcher because I love spamming that damn right trigger button and melting stuff. I love fast firing gunboats. Um, but I do understand and see the greatness that is of the 150s. Because not only are you hitting the enemy destroyer harder, but when you go and when you're farming these cruisers at the tier, these battleships at the tier, you're chunking them harder. So I do understand the importance of that. But overall, as a gunboat, I think it's great. It just takes a little bit more. You have to have a better aim to make the longer reload work better. But if you have the aim down with the engine boost, it's another really great destroyer.
Yeah, to add to that, it's with the 150s you can contend against other cruisers. You don't really want to do that, but if you have to, you can. Um, right now, the build that I have on it is I have Eric Bay, but that's because my Bay build right now is catered to the alternate line of German destroyers. So I haven't really messed with the Z-39 in a long time. But uh, another difference between the Z-35 and Z-39 is that Z-39 is effective at range. You're not going to want to get close to a DD because you don't have the or you don't have the shots per minute. Like you have a 6.9 reload on my build anyway. Z-35 is like 5 seconds or less. So you don't have that DPM that other DDs at the tier have. But they also don't have your guns. So if you spot them at range, you're gonna have an advantage that they don't have, because you can kite and you can shoot your guns from range. Just kind of like it's almost like you want to be angled away and shooting at them with this boat, because if they're gonna continue chasing you, they're going to lose that fight. As long as you don't get any one of your guns taken out. But your HE is really, really good against destroyers, being that it's 150. You can try your AP. I haven't really used AP against destroyers with this one because I felt like these guns on the AP side of things don't really do that much, but you can smack the crap out of cruisers and battleships. I've seen it against battleships a lot. I've done that. And but with destroyers, you can try the AP. I haven't experimented with it, so I don't have much experience on that side, but HE did just enough for me to be able to win those fights. Um, but yeah, like we were saying, we still got the average German torpedoes. You have the above average sonar that's tied with the Z-35, and you get the engine boost, which is really important, especially early on to get into positions. Um, in my opinion, the Z-39 is a better flanker than the Z-35. The Z-35 is a much better cap contester. But if you want to be kind of like if you're the only sonar DD in your team, then you're gonna have to contest caps because nobody else is gonna have sonar. So you want to be able to get in there, pop sonar. You don't have to get too aggressive, but take kind of like just take into account like who you're going against. Because if you're gonna go against a kid, pop your smoke and your sonar. That's your only defense against that because you're not gonna win that fight in open water. But yeah, I mean, with that said, what do you guys think of the tier? Chip, do you have anything to add to that?
I would honestly say it's a pretty lethal ambush kind of ship.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good at ambushing any kind of ship, honestly. It's one of those ships where if you know you're unspotted and you've been unspotted for a very long time, like you're able to keep hidden, you can honestly get behind people and it makes the ship really effective.
Right.
It's really good at causing ships issues, like trying to make them concerned about the fact that you have a Z-39 behind you or like to the side, and you got someone in front of you. It's one of those ships where it's made to like attack people unexpectedly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's about it though.
So with all that into consideration, what do you guys think we should place that at for the tier?
I'd have to go A.
A?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it too.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the Moss.
Oh yeah.
And that's why it's hard to really rank the Moss because the premiums of that line are just so much better. I mean, they're just better than the Moss. Like if you, it's all you had, the Moss is great, but the Z35 and 39 are better. Like it's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One thing that turned me off about the Z39 when I first got it was the traverse speed of the guns is like below average of the tier, but also like the German DDs in general. They have a very average traverse speed of the guns, which we didn't really talk about much of, but when you compare them to other DDs at the tier, the kid, I mean, it's like you have WD-40 on them bitches. Like they turn really, really fast. Where these guns, you better have them already like looking
Yeah.
somewhere. Twist and track is very important in my opinion with the slow traverse speed. It's gonna like either twist and track or perceptive. Obviously, twist and track helps the traverse speed, but perceptive, like those two give you the location of the nearest ship, so you're gonna have your guns turned in that direction already. So perceptive obviously increases your survivability and whatnot, but directly affecting your guns is going to be the twist and track. So that's going to be something to kind of look at your build and what you want to sacrifice. Like twist and track will sacrifice your torpedo reload, your gun reload. So it's one of those things you just kind of look at how you want to play. Everyone's a little different. With this alternate line of DDs, so we're gonna get into in a second. I started to really open water gunboat with them, and it's a lot of fun. So I normally never did that other than the Tashcan or like the Kaba and stuff like that. But other than that, I never really did that. And this alternate line really helped kind of like expand on that set of skills for a lot of people because it's what they're really good at. So Z39 at tier A tier. Now we're going to be talking about the infamous line that's now become a little bit more mainstream in today's standard battles, the alternate line of German destroyers. First, we got to kind of talk about the fact that like the theme of this alternate line is not the torpedoes, it's literally just the guns and the AP. So, with that said, we're going to be diving on into Z31 Tier 6. Chip, why don't you lead this one if you've messed with this one at all? Warwolf.
Gladly. So, as a lot of people
Sorry
know,
about that.
oh my god, Chip. Oh
We'll
my
start with
god.
Wolf and then Chip can go on.
Okay. So, I am not a destroyer player. I think besides carrier, which that can go burn in hell, is my weakest class. These alternate destroyers are so much fun. I The guns on these things are unbelievable, and I'm gonna keep repeating myself for every boat in this at this tech tree. They are so good. They have, and that's the thing. They are, and that's not. But one thing I will say though, the two downsides of these destroyers are the torps are terrible, horrible, horrible, horrible torps. They're just you just send them, and if they hit something, they hit something. Who gives a shit? They're and the other thing they're bad at are cap contesters.
Yeah.
They, but everything else are fantastic. The HE for me sets fires every time I shoot the guns. The AP is just shreds everything. If you're shooting HE primarily out of these boats, you are doing it wrong, my friend. Switch to the AP. Hell, don't even load HE. The HE is just a
Yeah.
commodity.
Right.
Keep AP loaded. They
Yep.
will shred everything. They are disgusting. They have an amazingly high health pool.
MDS, thanks for the follow.
And another great thing, let me look at 31 before I say wrong. Okay, I'm right. They have armor on their sides. So when you're getting into a destroyer fight, let them hit your broadside. Now, angle that broadside. They have to switch to AP to really shred you. But if they want to switch to AP, cool, angle with it. Ain't doing nothing to you. With that high HP pool, they're so hard to take down in a 1v1 fight. Like, I had so much fun grinding these things. Like, they're so good. So, but yeah, but Z-31, truly fantastic and everything. I mean, besides the amount of guns and the armor layout and the HP pool, all these boats are pretty much the same deal. They just get a little bit, the gun gets added here or there, HP gets higher, get a little bit more armor on as these things go up. So I'll just speak. The Z-31 is fantastic. It's fun. The guns are great. Go out and play them now if you haven't yet.
All right, Chippy.
Oh, alright. But like how Wolf said, the angle on him is amazing because like you gotta remember you have 25 millimeters that you can angle with.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is really tanky for how it is, and a lot of the destroyers at that tier normally have like low caliber guns, like around 127s, 130s. The only things you gotta worry about mainly though are the 139s, but even then, I don't think they're gonna really shoot AP at you.
Yeah.
Like for example, Lee
Yeah.
Fantastic and all that.
Right.
But like honestly though, like these ships, their AP, I don't know if like they have short fuse. I don't know if that's the case, but like these ships
It's
punch
just a pen. Yeah.
destroyers despite like it really is amazing how they play. They're really good at being evasive at times too when you need to, and they're very good at like being hard hitters as well as tanking hits. Like they're one of like the swords like I would honestly call a mini cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, they're beautiful at that.
So to kind of add to what Wolf and Chip were talking about, one of the biggest differences between this line and the main line is that this line is a specialty line. They specialize in guns. That is it. Um, they don't have the utility that the main line has. Main line is more of like a was that how do you guys say it? It's like a jack of all trades.
Oh,
Whereas this line is like um just good at AP damage. Um, they have the range, like the gun range is longer. The HP pool is higher for good reason, in my opinion, because you're gonna open water gunboat and you can't contest the cap. There's gonna be a time and a place to contest the cap. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you're gonna do that once in a while, but most times, often not, you're gonna stay outside the cap. You have to. You're gonna get radared. You're gonna get messed up by boats that have a higher DPM, which really isn't that much, but you don't have the maneuverability either. Your maneuverability is even worse. Um, so you kind of want to stay at range and help. Hopefully, you have another DD that's spotting for you too, because you're basically like just a step up above a regular destroyer because of your insane HP pool starting out. So you kind of want to just make sure that you don't get too close to islands. You don't have sonar. You don't have the utility that the other guys got. So you want to make sure that you just keep your distance and keep enough distance. You don't have to be like 15k away, but be 8, 9, 10k away, and you're gonna smash them. But you just got to make sure that you try not to get too close to any kind of islands because you're gonna get messed up. You're not gonna have the maneuverability to get away from things. And like I said, it's gonna be even more prevalent in this tier because you're basically just good at that one thing, and that's spamming your AP. So your torpedoes are kind of a last resort, like we were talking about earlier. Slower torpedoes, lower range. Once you get into the upper tiers, it's a little bit better, but you still don't want to rely on them. They're too slow. They're way below the average in terms of speed. So yeah, AP only basically, and you basically just think about it like if you're a little mini Plymouth. Just AP only. That's it.
These things are truly if a destroyer and a cruiser had a baby.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Would you recommend cruisers switching the AP against this line as well to take them down? No,
Mainly
but
with small caliber cruisers, I
yeah,
would recommend.
if you have like what below 150s, I guess maybe.
Yeah, around 150s.
All
Yeah,
Main.
all cruisers at the tier can spam HE. When we say whenever we talk about you should be using AP against these things, we're talking about a destroyer v destroyer fight.
yeah,
Cruisers don't need that because they have a higher alpha than destroyers do with the guns, so they can melt these things faster. Because that's what the cruisers are for. They're destroyer hunt. They're destroyer killers. Like all of them are. So you don't need to switch to AP when fighting these things.
hmm
There's
So
only one destroyer in the game where it's like, okay, I can recommend using AP on it, and that's I would consider the premium version of these things at tier 8 is Elving.
Elbing, yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of. That and Khabarovsk. Well, that's Soviets.
Crappy's like, I'm not gonna listen to a BB man.
Okay, but
But yeah, with all that said, Z31, where I personally would probably put it at A tier for the tier.
yeah.
Yeah.
Put it right here. Boom.
Yeah, A tier for sure.
A tier. Okay. Next one of my favorites. I'll talk about. Oh, we didn't even go up to. Yeah, let's go to Z23 this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that one next in line. Z23, the OG. Chip, why don't we start with you?
I don't have a whole lot of experience with Z23.
Mm-hmm.
I've played it a few times. One thing I can say though, uh, it's it's good at, I guess, at cap contesting, but one of the things I've seen it more as, I've seen the ship better played if you just like play it steady. Because like it's one of those ships where you want to play slow at times. It's not like, how do you say it? Like something you want to be out there with. Like you don't want to be seen as much.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how like some of the other DDs are. Like it's ambush. It can ambush things. It can also like it can also be a nuisance, mainly for cruisers and battleships, for the fact that even though like it has like the small guns, if you get the 150s, they can still punch. They
Yeah.
punch hard at times.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's really good at catching cruisers and DDs off guard, mainly for the fact that even though it may not have like severe like devastating damage output, it's one of those ships where it can really damage you a over time. Like it's really good at that.
Yeah.
It's like I'd say it's consistent at mainly doing damage over time more than just doing outright damage. From how I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't have a lot of experience with this destroyer, so yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Wolf.
Okay, Z-23 for me. I'm currently grinding Z-23. Um, it's it doesn't know what it wants to be. I feel
I can agree with
the
that.
more the more that I play it, the more that I truly think that a torp build is better on it. Um, the reason why, because it does have decent torp range and torp reload. I'm running Bay on it. I'm running a gunboat build on it, and the torps are still coming back quick. So I can't imagine what blue would do for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I would steer away from gunboat with it is because of how these things, in my personal opinion, should be played are straight up cap contesters. The sonar is not big enough for me. It has a 4.4 kilometer sonar to detect ships. But here's the thing: what happens when a Friesland comes in or a low gang? The Friesland has the same sonar range as the Z-23, and the damn low gang is a kilometer bore. Like there's they're really two highly played boats. The Z-23 can't contest with them too. It does not do the alpha to deal with them effectively. Like, so the more and more that I play it, the more and more I steer towards torps with this boat. The torps do pretty decent, um, but like I said though, it's not doing anything special for me. It is a true all arounder leaning towards torps. Um, but there's boats at the tier that do better in every aspect that this thing is supposed to do. Now, when the game first came out, and this was one of the only destroyers, the thing was a monster. There was nothing to contest it with caps. But now with the fact that Friesland and Logang are in, you have more radar cruisers. This thing does not get out of the area quick. It's just there. Like it's not the best choice anymore. The only positive thing I can say about Z-23 is the Halloween camo. Is the rat camo is one of the cooler ones in my opinion of all the camos in the game. But that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's all I can say.
Yeah, Wolf's not saying he doesn't love the Z-23. He's just saying that,
There's
uh,
better
yeah, there's
options.
better
It
options at the
doesn't
tier.
do any. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything special to make me like, okay, I want to play this.
Yeah. I've tried torp builds. I've tried gunboat builds. I've tried hybrid builds. Um, at the tier, it's just tough because now you're getting into the tier of maneuverability. You want to be able to get in and out quickly. You just can't fucking do that with this boat, man. I'm sorry. The at Remember I was talking about earlier that German DDs are average at everything. Well, at tier 7, you don't want to be average at everything. You want to be really good at something because otherwise you're not going to know how to play it. I mean, at tier 7, now you're messing with okay, carriers. Now you're messing with like mega radars. Like you're messing with DDs that have higher sonar than you. Now you're seeing German DDs start to kind of, instead of where they were excelling before in their jack of all trades, now because you're a master of none, now you're getting punished. So because of that wonky dispersion that was just mentioned in chat by Crappy, like that's why I went with the 150s because they're a lot more accurate and they shoot a little fat. Like they shoot like the trajectory is a lot flatter, from what I've noticed, and they hit harder too. So I know that you're up to like 6 seconds of reload, but a lot of times, with this particular build that I have, it's more of a area denial build. So I can still kind of contest a cap if I need to, but um, this boat is one that people take lightly a lot of times, and they underestimate like your ability to um, back into a cap, spot them. You're gonna outspot them a lot of times. I think you can get it down to like 5. But I've messed around with different builds and try to figure out. And this boat, like you're saying, doesn't know what it wants to be. So you just have to kind of choose. Do you want to be just gunboat, which I wouldn't recommend at this tier. I think you're going to be a lot more effective as a torpedo boat with this one because you have the concealment and the torp range and the torp reload. Like that's your biggest advantage at the tier. So you have the utility, you got the smoke. The only thing you don't have is heal, but you have the smoke, you have the engine boost, and the sonar. So just use those things to help your teammates out. It's a incredibly really well built ship for support, but not for trying to carry a team. And I'm not saying you can't. There's a time and a place for it, but it's not built for that. It's built for supporting your teammates, spotting, denying areas, and using your utility to the best of your ability without losing too much HP because you can't get it back. So,
And that's, I mean, this is one of the biggest examples of it in the game. If we were talking about this boat 2 years ago, this boat would be don't fight it at the tier. Dune, if you're another destroyer, don't fight it. It will kill you. It will beat you 100%. But now, because of all these ships, that's why I'm so hesitant with it. Is that because you have all these ships that have been brought in that are just so much better. Like it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do good because there's better options. Like, yeah,
yeah.
It's been a struggle grinding this thing. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a lot easier back in the day.
For sure.
Power crept. Yeah, I mean that's the definition of this boat. It got power crept. Same thing with the Moss at tier 6. Just power crept. It is what it is, man. I mean, if you go back down to tier 5, the T61 is still one of the kings. That you can probably even say Mahan too.
Those two are the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Fubuki is probably like the best torp one, but I can't really think of
T61, Mahan, and Fubuki are the best 3 destroyers at tier 5.
Yeah. I can't see anyone else.
Those 3 are amazing.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But yeah, I think once more radars came out, once more DDs with other sonar. Because think about this. You want a gunboat at tier 7? What's your first pick? What's your second pick? What's your 6th pick? I guarantee you Z-52 is not going to be in there. There's just a lot better. And then, okay, now how about torp builds or torp boat? Is that in your top 5?
No.
Not mine. Like, I can think of 5 off the cuff for each of them. That's what I'm saying. Is like it wouldn't be your first pick, and it's just average. Is all I can say about this boat right now. Just the way that it sits. Now, when it came out, yeah, absolutely, it was one of the top. I mean, you had the Z-23, you had the Fletcher, you had the Kagero, which was still, I don't know, nobody really plays it well anyway. Who else you got? Tashkent didn't come out till later. The British Lightning. Yeah, it's like Lightning would have been like one of the Fletcher, King, Lightning. Then you got what's blanking out. Hold on. Fletcher, Lightning. Nobody really played Kagero. I don't remember it being played that much.
No,
everyone just played Ekad.
Kagero wasn't played a lot because Udachi was one of the first campaign ships in the game, and everybody spammed the fuck out of Udachi.
Yeah. Guilty. Yeah, I can't.
You're on the hit list as well.
Yeah,
so okay.
yeah. Yeah, and then back then you could say it was the top 5, but I mean that was only 5. Cancer. So, dude, that was So it's like I don't know. I still feel like there's better options for everything. If you want an average boat, then maybe this is the best average boat. I don't know. You can make the argument.
If this is a boat to where if you think you're hot shit and you really want to be like, I want to make a piece of trash shine, this is the boat.
There you go. Boom. Yep. Agreed. So, sticking to the tier, we're gonna go to ZF6.
Oh, I thought we were gonna rank.
Oh, sorry, Z-23. Yeah, let's rank Z-23. Sorry.
I'd put it C tier.
C tier at the rank.
Yeah,
Boom.
I'd agree with that.
So it's below the Moss, and the Moss is average at the tier. So you're saying Z-23 is below average at the tier.
Because the mod, like, would so like if we were playing tier 6,
Mm-hmm.
you would still bring Moss out.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're playing tier 7, would you bring Z-23 out?
No.
Exactly.
Okay. I was just making sure we had the right rank on there. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about ZF6.
Ooh, spicy bitch.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start this one off because I have a lot of experience with it. ZF6 was the very, very, very first destroyer that I shot only AP in because that is what I was told to do. And I didn't understand that at the time. But this was the first DD that taught me the power of AP shells coming from destroyers. Because I'm not saying no destroyer should be using AP other than like these German ones that we talked about. There's a time and a place for it, for sure. Even with my American DDs, I'll see a broadside battleship, and if it has two fires on it, switch to AP, shoot it right above the either the superstructure, or I'll shoot right above the belt, and I'll get like 2,000 damage depending on how far I am, but between 1,000 and 2,000 damage per salvo, which is really good, especially when you shoot fast. Anyways, ZF6 was the first one that everybody and their mother was like, dude, this is going to be the best AP, destroyer in the game. And it was at the time. It still is one of the better DDs at the tier for just AP, and torpedoes and stuff. So you have really, really good AP angle pen. You have very good reload. You have your reload booster of your guns. You have Blue Furia that you can put on a sucker and get it to 44.1 second reload time for your torps. That was when I first got Blue Furia, and I built the ZF6 around that. That was fun for a while. Spamming torpedoes like a Kagero or something. Um, you have your smoke. The only thing you don't have that matters at the tier is sonar. I think this was the first, if I remember correctly, the first German DD at the tier that didn't have sonar. I think that's right. Yeah. So that was kind of a like if you grind it all the way up to Z-23 and then you played this, it was a little getting used to. You can cap contest; it's very good at that, but you need someone to spot for you because a lot of times you're gonna pop smoke, and if someone pops smoke, you're screwed because you can't see nothing. So you kind of want to be careful at this tier with all the radars and sonars and stuff that you don't got. So I think this boat, in my opinion, is still. I don't think it's been power crept that much, and it's been out for a while. What, almost 2 years? I think.
That's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's still really, really good. This is a boat that I take out even today. It's a very, very good gun boat and torque boat. You can choose one or the other, or do a hybrid. You're gonna get rewarded regardless. So, what say you, Woofy?
Okay, so another thing, I agree with everything that Rambo said. The only thing that I don't think that you covered is that not only does this thing have amazing guns, amazing torps, but it also has really good AA for the tier for a
Mm.
destroyer. Like really good AA.
Yeah. Let's take a
Like
look at that.
this, I mean, it's not on Friesen levels when I say this,
Right.
but it is on the upper echelon of AA. Like Friesen's of a class of its own. You can't compare other destroyers to Friesen, but this thing can hold its own against a carrier. It is nasty. You can also, if you're ballsy enough, switch that smoke out for defensive fire AA, which makes it even better. Um, Talking about the guns, in a the HE's trash. Do not load HE unless you want to start a fire
Yeah.
on a bow tanking battleship. Do not load it. It's not worth it. The AP will wreck everything at this tier. The pin angles and just the constant fire that this thing can put out is crazy. Um, like I've said before, I've said it multiple times. I am not a torpedo guy. I hate torpedoes. I hate it. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I'm a gunboat guy, and this thing in a one-on-one destroyer fight, unless you're fighting a low gang or a Friesland, will dominate at the tier because of the reload boosters on the because it has two base, two stock, and they will destroy every destroyer in this at the tier. Like I said, the only two hard counters are low gang because of the smoke sonar. It's on a crazy, and Friesland is Friesland. We all know what that thing can do. But if those things aren't available, it'd be ZF6 at the top with Fletcher close behind. But ZF6 with the reload boosters are just put us in a league of its own. Um, the gun configuration is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It me and we'll get into the boat later on, but I think another reason me and Rambo really like this thing, and we've also was we both played this thing a lot, and it leads into another boat that's going to be talked about later on. It has the same gun configuration of Schultz. It is so great. The gun configuration, the one in the back, one in mid, one in the front. It is so good, angling away or angling towards. I love it. Like I love this boat. But that's all I got to say.
All right, chippers.
Man, you guys already covered the whole thing about it.
Just give
That
your
thing
opinions, man.
rips. Honestly, I've played the boat a good amount of times. I think I have like over 200 battles with that thing. It's a really good destroyer. If like there's no more destroyers or like no more like really destroyers to worry about, like you still got that reload booster. Anything that goes broadside to you, you're basically
Yeah,
melting
they're
it.
fucked.
That reload booster will just absolutely ruin battleships and cruisers. Like
Yeah,
I've seen the damage potential that thing can do with that thing.
yeah, for
The
sure.
reload is impeccable. I love it. It's definitely a good destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it though. I don't got much.
All right, so based on all that, where would you guys put the Tier 7 ZF6?
I put it at A.
Yeah, A tier.
Yeah, I think what would make it S tier if it had sonar. Just
Yeah.
if it had 5K sonar, even 4.4 really, be disgusting. Because it could outgun a Friesland then and a Lo Yang. Although it couldn't outspot the Lo Yang obviously with the sonar, but yeah. I don't know. I mentioned it a little bit, but this is like one of the faster boats at that tier, especially without the engine boost. It's pretty fast. That's what I liked about it originally. Is like um, you can get to spots a lot faster than other DDs, and sometimes if if you have the opportunity and to be able to go out wide instead of contesting a cap, and someone else is in there and spotting for you and stuff, like dude, you can just it's such a well-rounded ship in my opinion, because it can still get smacked, so it's not like overpowered at all. I think it was pretty balanced when it first came out. Just the problem when it first came out, it just there wasn't a whole lot of other things at the tier that could beat it 1-on-1. But I think it got power crept justifiably, if that makes sense, with enough DDs at the tier that it saturated its power to where now it's like, okay, now it's on par with all the other good. Now it's basically you against another good player or another good DD. So it's not like a Z-23, for example, where you're already at a disadvantage because it got power crept so hard. But anyways, A tier for the ZF6. We're gonna go stay in the same tier, but go down to the other line. Basically the AP line is what I call it. The GJ Marker. My first impressions of this ship was so Wolf got it before I did, I believe. I think he got all the way up to the Schultz
Mhm.
before I even started this line. And one of the things that he had said was AP only. I was like, all right, cool. That's, I mean, I'm used to that with the German DDs anyway. What I wasn't prepared for was the reload time is low as hell. Compared to, well, it's like it's on par with the other line, the main line, where it's like around 5 seconds or whatever. But being 150s and having the AP damage that you have, I just shoot everything and everyone. I had a lot of fun with this ship. Strengths, obviously the guns and the HP pool. Same thing that we talked about the Z-31, but a tier higher. And you have more, you have, I think you have another gun and you have more HP. So the torpedoes are better, but they're still not like torpedoes that you should be like, you know, talking to your wife about. Like, man, I got the biggest torpedoes at the tier. These are like ones that you just like don't even fucking mention on the first date. You just kind of like, all right, let's see, if she likes my personality. So, when you're playing these boats, you want to make sure that you are in open water. I can't express to you enough how many fucking times I hit a torpedo and this is me experimenting with these boats, trying to figure out what part of the map they excel the greatest at. So you'll see sometimes I'll get fucking Deathstroke right away, or sometimes you'll see me in open water have like 80k just shooting at battleships and cruisers because this thing can do those things. So you want to make sure that you stay away from islands and start turning ahead of time because it is a fucking brick. So you want to make sure that you have your guns facing the right way where you want to be at. You're not a very good kiter, so you want to stay away from trouble, but stay at range. The build that I have on Eric Bay, and I said this earlier, right now I have it set to cater to these guys. These ships this particular ship line. I got Observant Rage, Mortar, Reaching Out, Torpedo Royale. Because the other ones really didn't make sense. I mean, you could do smoke underwater, but I don't use smoke that much unless I'm giving it to a buddy of mine. One of my div mates, you can use that more than I will. Swirsky and Sims. So you have more HP. The concealment kind of cancels out on the mortar, so you're not like, overly, showing yourself. Like, you don't want a full lighthouse build because you're going to get smacked around. I kind of found out the hard way that the guns can get knocked pretty easy, but if you're at range and stuff and you're smart and you're maneuverable and you understand turning ahead of time before those guns start firing at you, and because a lot of times too is like what I found about this ship is really good at is taking the pressure off of your teammates. I'll see that Wolf is being spammed by someone, or Chip, and I'll start opening up when I'm in position, and then they start turning their guns. This is one of the ships that I started doing that with the most, because they won't look at you if you're not doing much damage, but if you start doing 5k a salvo, they're gonna fucking have to pay attention to you, because they're like, all right, this dude is smacking the crap out of me. I can bow tank Wolf. While Wolf is now not taking as much fire. Now he's able to get his DCP going, his heals, and all that stuff. Now your teammates are survivability is higher. You're using your HP pool to help your teammates out. This is something that battleships normally are in charge of, but this DD is able to do that, and I really like it. I appreciate it because it supplements like my playstyle and helping my teammates out, being a good support player. I might not carry a team, but I want to support the division as much as I can to keep us all alive so we can all enjoy the victory together. This boat is very good at that. I think I was missing something. Turning radius is horrendous. Speed is not very good, but you got 2 engine boosts. I was missing something, but Wolf, go ahead and take it over from here.
I'll let Chip go first with this one.
Okay.
Honestly, the GJ Mercury from I love this ship. Honestly, it's really good at being one of those ships where you wanna like have people on you sometimes. Like it's one of those ships where it's really good at distraction. Like if you wanna like have your team be able to have an upper hand and having like heat like less heat on them, this ship is perfect for that. It's good at being a distraction. It's good at doing damage. Hell, it's good at setting fires. I've set plenty of fires in this ship. It's pretty good at that. And like, what I really love though is that one of the special things that if a cruiser angles on you or like they try to angle a bit, you can hit their bow pretty hard. Like I cannot stress enough how like I cannot stress enough the devastation this can do to people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not careful with this thing, sure, like the guns can get knocked out. But one gun, it's all right. Like this thing can still devastate no matter what. Just don't give this thing broadside. It'll be fine. Like don't give it broadside. Don't angle or like over angle. Like this thing is excels at DD fights too.
Oh
Not
yeah.
to mention, it could be in a 2v1, 1v1 situation. This thing has the health to tank the hits. The only thing you gotta worry about though is torps. That's the only thing you gotta worry
Yeah.
about.
That shit sucks.
Also, yeah, and like Friesland and like Loying, those two DDs also. I mean, I could say the same for Black, but at the same time, Black is like radar can only last for so long, and then it's just free reign on it.
Yeah. But if you're within
Like,
that radar range, you're too close anyway.
yeah,
You know, your guns they're reaching out. Like that's why I have that. Like your guns
yeah,
are gonna be like your best asset from range. You know, you can get up close at late in the game just to kill the last person, but don't fuck around and find out with all these destroyers that have better maneuverability and better torpedoes than you. So
oh yeah. That's all I got for the ship,
that's
honestly.
going on YouTube.
Alrighty, here we go. So if we all remember, the the alternate destroyer line and the alternate French cruiser line came out at the same time. They were both there was that lottery pool where you can like open the random bundles and you can hopefully get it, yada yada yada. This was one of my first ones that I pulled. Honestly, like I said, me not a destroyer guy, I wanted Sherberg. I wanted because it was a baby in my opinion it was a baby battleship. I wanted Sherberg so bad. Couldn't get it. But got this thing. I don't say this a lot, but I will say this about this. There's probably about two or three other lines that I truly enjoyed playing through and grinding. And this is one of them. This thing is unreal. Um, the range you can I have mine as a range build on my Merker. I run the range mod if it lasts, my range is out to 13.5 kilometers. This thing is not a destroyer. This thing is a baby cruiser. The AP on these guns is truly amazing. When I enter a fight, I will creep into a cap. The moment it's contested, I will bait you in. Because you still have a great concealment because you have Bay and Swirsky on. Like, mine's down to a 5.4. Fletcher's at a 5.5, unless you run some stupid torpedo build that you shouldn't be running anyway. So you're going to outspot other destroyers. Yes, the speed and everything isn't great, but you bring them destroyers in a 1v1, they cannot hurt you. The armor is 25 millimeter armor all the way down the sides of these things. The only way they can effectively hurt you is use AP if you're flat broadside. Don't give them flat broadside. Angle with these guns to where they fire off enough, and you will shred everything at every destroyer at the tier. Then once that destroyer is taken care of, you can either get the cap or you can start the hellstorm on these other cruisers and battleships on the other side. You have a bow on battleship, no problem. Switch to HE. You're gonna light fires, 100%. Light a couple fires, get them to DC. Light a couple more, let them burn, and then switch to AP and target their superstructure. Bow on, by the way. Don't even get me started on if they're broadside. Bow on. It will. I mean, you're hitting these things for 2-3K a salvo
Yep.
in the superstructure with its AP. It's even crazier on their broadside. Like you can chunk battleships for 5 to 6K a salvo every 5 seconds if they're broadside. They have to respect you. This thing is truly an amazing boat, and I truly enjoyed playing this. It is a special thing. I don't know how it will do in competitive, but it is something that I'm going to be trying out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do see the value of this thing in competitive, and I'm telling you, this thing is fun. Like the Z-31, okay, yeah, that's cool, but this thing, if you want to have fun and open your guns up, this is the boat to play. It is. I just can't say it enough how fun this thing was.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And you got to be a cruiser connoisseur to like this ship, because if you're a DD connoisseur, like it's gonna take a long time to get used to. It took me a few games to get used to it, because I'm more of a torp guy. But after getting better with using guns and stuff, and having the tournament with Wolf playing the Kaba, Kaba obviously doesn't have torpedoes like that. So you want to kind of be a gunboat person with it. Well, after that experience, I started playing a little bit more gunboats, and kind of reworking some of my builds to be able to compensate for that moment in time where you're going to have to use your guns. You can't just rely on torps all the time. This was one of those boats that I like I said, or like you said, I agree with. I thoroughly enjoyed, but because of its inability to kite that well, I will say, okay, it can't kite that great in terms of like rudder shift, but you can throttle really, really well. Like you can go forward and stop on a dime. And I did compare. I mean, comparing this ship to other ships like it can do that really well. So like if you shoot and all of a sudden you see them turning and you hit the brakes, they're not gonna hit you. And like he said, make sure that you're angling correctly and all that. Um, it's I don't know. I shoot everything, and I don't ever have fear of ricochets and stuff like that, or saturation and all that. I always am confident when I shoot my shots that they're going to hit and they're going to do a lot of damage.
And the guns are extremely accurate.
Yeah, yeah, they're
They're
lasers.
extremely accurate.
Yeah. So with that said, what tier should we put the Merker at?
I'd have to put it at an A tier.
Oh yeah.
I put it at A.
I agree with that. Have you guys been putting Halsey on it yet to try it out?
Nah.
Here's the thing. So I talked to Wolf about that a few times. I just feel like you're sacrificing more than what it's worth.
The pin's already really. What is Halsey pin or is it damage?
I think it's pen multiplier.
Oh, it doesn't need pin. This thing does not need
Yeah.
penetration values on its guns.
Let's see. Oh no, it's AP damage. Sorry, not pen.
It's damage.
Yeah, it's damage. Sorry.
I mean, Halsey could be okay, but everybody plays it. Everybody can play it differently. But for how I play it, I think a double concealment plus health is better because I mean, you're still like, I don't have any AP multipliers on this thing, and you're still chunking broadside BBs for a 5K a salvo. Like, I don't know if giving up that more concealment or health is worth getting another 400 or 500 damage a shot. I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't experimented with it, but I think like what Rambo said, I think you're giving up too much by putting Halsey on.
Yeah, I just like the HP, man. I mean, if I were to give up anything, like if I were to go get Halsey, I'd probably give up Swirsky, and if I do that, then my concealment's even worse because of mortar. So then I have to go down to look at me now. So then I just lost the 13% damage to get a 4%. So it's like,
and that's another thing about me. I do not run mortar.
Yeah, you run. Look at me now.
I look at me now.
Yeah, yeah. It's so much fun, man.
Because I know it's fun, but like I talked about before when we're talking about tier 6 and how I've been taught to play gunboats, and it's worked out very well for me. Whoever spots each other first wins the fight. And if I can bait somebody in, you're done. Like you want to open up on me in a marker when I've already outspotted you. Bye.
I will say
'Cause
though, like to kind of counter that a little bit, is you're kind of talking in a 1v1 scenario where in standard you never
well, that's
want
the
to like
thing.
rely on
But
it,
that's the
but
thing about mortar, though. But that's the thing about mortar is that let's say you do try to go, you have to contest a cap.
mhm.
Like you don't, and you know there's a destroyer in there, and he's got cruisers behind him. Well, all of a sudden you're spotted 0.2, 0.3 kilometers worse than he is, and now you have cruisers on top of you now too. But if you have the better concealment, he has to push in you to spot you, and then you get that first shot off. That first shot's huge, man. It's huge. Like you already have like it already the damage is already good enough to not need it. I understand why people run it. James runs mortar. I understand fully why you'd want to do it, but when you have to could take that fight against another destroyer in a fight in a cap, and they have support, just being outspotted that bad, it just hurts you so much.
So two things. One, if you're running concealment like Wolf does, then you can be a little bit more aggressive in the spotting area. Whereas if you're running mortar, you wouldn't necessarily do that. But I will say there have been times where people outspot me, but they lose the fight because they can't outgun me. Like I can out DPM almost everything else. So in that regard, I get what you're saying because now everyone's shooting at you and stuff. But that's more like a default. I think in most cases, what's happening is, excuse me, is that like they're gonna outspot you. They're gonna a lot of DDs will try to open up, or they'll try to torp you first, which kind of gives you the ability, kind of like, all right, if I'm spotted right now, then my because it's obviously scenario dependent, but
Mm.
if like let's say Chip's in a Plymouth and you're in a JB or something, right? Okay, I'm spotted. Boom, radar, and then now we're all shooting at that same target. You know, a lot of times the DDs they're not running in divisions. Most of them are running on their own, so they're going to be on their own. They're not going to have support in standard. Now in comp, I don't even know if this would be, you know, obviously we're going to experiment and whatnot, but I think that the situations that you're talking about are more like a niche situation because you can kind of control how aggressive you want to be, especially when you're at 5-4 and a lot of other DDs are either if they're running concealment, well then they're not running damage, right? So you're gonna if they outspot you a little bit, like you're gonna out DPM them. So
Yeah.
the one
I
thing
mean,
that you won't want
even
to do is like you don't want to fuck with sonar either. So Low Yang and
right.
Friesland, that's out of the question. You're gonna have
Yeah.
support with that anyway.
It's just I don't feel that the guns need it.
Yeah,
They
I
already
wouldn't. Yeah,
hit hard enough to not need that. So if I can not only still out DPM you because of the hard hittingness of these guns, but I get first spot, like it's just double positive for me. If you want to run a now that's me running it as a if I do have to contest a cap. Now if you want to play this thing as a backline cr- baby cruiser that just spams battleships, cruisers, and it's sort of like a Russian,
yeah,
where you
yep,
want to stay backline, use range, then mortar all the way because you don't need it.
right.
But that's not how I play.
Do you do
That's
reaching
not
out?
that's yes.
So let me ask you this:
So, uh huh.
if you do reaching out and then also have look at me now, and you're not really shooting at range though, you're basically your build is like, all right, I want to get in and
It's
outspot.
it's a hybrid build for
Okay,
the
okay,
most
all
part
right.
because I can go in, take that fight, outspot him, win the fight, get the cap, and then back off, and then play at range with the fight.
Yep. Okay.
Like that's how I've approached it,
So
and it's
what's your
worked out
last one?
extreme. My last one is smoke on the
Yeah,
water,
smoke on the water. Yeah.
because the torps don't mean shit. Like
Yeah.
they're horrible.
Yeah.
Smoke on the water, you keep it for yourself, or like you said, your allies.
Yeah. That's a good
Like
point.
I
I'll
just
change that right now. Cause I had it in case I ever needed it, but you're right. Like I barely ever hit torpedoes with it because it's so slow. And you're ruining your concealment on the torps anyway, so yeah, that's a better. Yeah, it's a better thing to have anyway. More useful.
I would love to see people try both builds out and then let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
What runs better?
Big Sip is like, don't trust Wolf in a DD.
Listen, don't mess with me, no DD. Now I'm gonna eat them random torps. You just call me Potato Meat Junior. But
yeah. Yeah. But what do you guys think about that topic? I mean, I mean, this is the boat that we spend the most time talking about, but it's just such a really good line. We put it at what, A tier? Yeah. So, yeah, it's a very, very good boat.
You think this is a long talk? Wait till we get to the Schultz.
Yeah. All right. So Z-54. I'm just gonna go like this, or there we go. Z-44 is our next one, and then we'll talk about the Z-46, and then we'll go to Schultz. But yeah, so
it's not for Gelbing.
We can spend about 5 or 6 minutes on each of these, and then we'll go to Schultz. That way we have time to talk about the Schultz.
Alrighty.
Hey Delta, what's up? Skill, sorry. What is this list for? Comp or standard? Oh, just standard. That's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. We're just talking about standard. We're kind of introducing comp into the conversation a little bit, just because if a DD has a unique ability that would help it in comp, then we'll talk about that. But this is basically just standard. So Z-44. When I first got it, I was like, all right, cool. And then I compared it to the ZF6 because it's kind of like that in terms of the torpedoes. And I'm like, I thought the guns were going to be similar to the ZF6, and they are not. So, I personally think that you should run this as a full torp build, not a hybrid build. I think you're going to have the most success in it. Riggs had the damage record on this fucking thing, and just
has it.
I thought last I heard, that they took it, but
I thought somebody took it, then he took it back.
Yeah, he's been battling with this dude at like 290k damage, using Von Spee, and I think it's all the way up to 360,000 damage or something like that, and it's just torps. Like, it's here's the thing: the guns are average. I'm just gonna say it. They're not bad. They're just average.
Trash.
HE, don't use AP. If they're full broadside, maybe, but they're just not at the tier. I guess at the tier they're below average. I'll say it like that. But for a German DD, they're pretty average. So,
trash.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say about it other than the torps are really good, but that's about it. Chip?
I don't really have much on it because the fact that I've never really tried playing the ship. So, I really have no opinions here.
Yeah.
So, I'll get into this. First off, like we talked about before, I hate torp boats. Fucking hate them. I hate having to put everything into fucking torpedoes because all of a sudden that fucking battleship or whatever wants to turn, boom, you gotta wait another fucking 40 seconds to fucking shoot them. But with this thing, it's with the fact that Blue Foria is a captain, this thing I could see the potential of this thing. Not as a gunboat. Do not run this as a gunboat. If you run this as a gunboat, you are messing up horribly. Yeah. But as a torpedo boat, this thing is really, really good. Yeah. I have Blue on here right now. You're looking at 12 km range, which is pretty good at the tier. But the reload on the torps, this is 10 torpedoes. 41.7 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's crazy at the tier. Like, it's very good with torpedoes and causing floods. if you have a competent Z-44 player that knows how to run this thing, aka rigs, as a battleship player, this thing is hell
No,
on
dude.
Earth.
It's yeah.
Hell on Earth to deal with.
Yeah.
But so, sort of like, so as. So, I mean, I don't really have nothing else to say. So, if we want to go into ranking right now on it, because Blue Fury is a commander, and this thing, if you run it fully as a torpedo boat, I'd have to put it at an A tier for a torp boat. If we're talking destroyer boat, this thing's a D tier. Hell, it's a fucking Z tier with guns. Do not use your guns on it. Like it's not worth it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'd put it at A tier for torpedo boat.
Agreed. All right. Next up, Z-46. Z-46 is okay, so let's start with the sonar. I don't know, average sonar, 4.4. I kind of feel like it should be 5 for the tier, in my opinion, to make this ship better. But yeah, again, this is another one of those Z-23 situations, except for the fact that it has better guns and torpedoes. But I haven't had the best games with this fucking thing. I just don't. I don't use Blue Fury. I just had it on here for a little while, but I don't know. It's a very frustrating DD to play because it's just like I said. It's almost like Z-23 was really good when it first came out, where the game first came out, and then this ship is just not good at the tier, in my opinion. Yeah, it's literally all I got. There's just nothing really that thing that stands out. So
Honestly, it just feels like a tier 7.
it's fair. If it had another turret, then maybe, but it just I don't know.
It just feels like Z-23, honestly. That's all it feels to me. It just feels like rinse and repeat.
I don't have it. I have no opinion on it, but if I'm hearing that it's like Z-23,
It just shoots
Yeah.
faster, but there's nothing special about it. I don't know. Chad, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't. I don't. I don't understand this ship. What it's supposed to do.
I know James really likes it.
I'll be honest. I've never seen him play it, but yeah.
Mhm.
I don't
Well,
know.
he definitely doesn't play it anymore because of the next boat we're about to talk about. But I know I saw him play it quite a bit. I mean, I think the only thing that possibly could be good about it. Well, hold on? Like I said, I don't have it, so I gotta like go and scroll through stuff.
It has a 4-second reload.
The sonar still sucks.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
But there's nothing really at the tier that has sonar that I can think of. I'm wrong, correct me, please.
I think you're right. Well, I mean, no, yeah. Never mind. Well, the Jutland, but doesn't have. I think it's 3.5.
Yeah.
Z-23 has 150s and Z-46 has 128s. Yeah, but even Z-46 could still outgun the. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have 150s.
Yeah, but you can put the 123s on Z-23. You have an option.
The 150s, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, Misfit's saying that Z-23 has the 150s and Z-46 doesn't, but that doesn't make Z-23 better at the tier by adding those guns. It's just a different. I don't know. What I like about Z-46 is that it does set fires fairly easy. I've noticed I never had really an issue setting fires on other DDs or any other ship really. Um, but maybe if you build the guns, you'll be better. I just at the tier, I just don't think you can outgun a whole lot. There's just so much
I've
other gunboats that are better at the
yeah.
tier.
I think if I remember listening to James talk about it, is what made it really good was obviously we talked about this a lot today, but is the AP was really good. Um, like I said, I don't know what to speak on it because I don't have it. Like I'm trying to get it so that I can Z-52
Oh,
in
okay.
the bureau, but I don't have it yet, so I can't really speak on it.
I don't know. The AP for me wasn't. I don't know. It didn't feel as strong as the other tiers. I don't know. Like if you look at other DDs at the tier 8, like they're not lightly armored. I mean, they have to go like really broad, and you don't have the pen angles anyway on Z46 to like really do what like a ZF6 could do at tier 7. Now, if you could do that
Mhm.
at tier 8, then yeah, absolutely. But you don't have reload booster. You don't have the AP alpha. You don't have. I don't know. I just feel like the torps and
If
sonar probably is it.
what hurts it, and I just don't. I mean, this is just crazy that the tier sixes have better sonar than the tier eight
I know.
does.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Give it 5. Give it.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Give it five, something like that.
Yep.
Make it on par with Low Yang or just something. I mean, I know what the legendary Z-52 has, but to jump from a 4.4 to a 5.9 with one tier,
That's
like there
stupid.
should be a middle ground there.
Oh.
Like, and I just, so yeah, I don't, I don't want it. I'll say that I don't want it, but you have to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason why I'm grinding for it, because
Yeah.
there are better options on everything at the tier.
Right.
Like, I mean, so yeah.
Just another
Yeah,
Z23. I'm telling you.
yeah. At this, yeah, I would just only have the ship honestly, just for that. I wouldn't really necessarily use it.
Right.
So with ranking, I'd put it. I mean, after everything that I'm hearing about it, I put it at a C.
Yep. Where it's going. And oh shit. Where do we? No. What's left? Oh, the Elbing. But we'll talk about the Schultz first. I forgot about the Elbing. Yep. All right, Schultz time.
Well, let's talk about Elbing first,
Okay.
because you don't have it, but me,
No, I
and you
can.
both have Schultz.
Mhm.
I'll start off with Elbing
You
because
buy
I
that
do
shit?
have it and have it pulled up. This thing is not a destroyer, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is a fucking cruiser, okay?
No.
This thing
There we
is
go.
a 100% cruiser. Do not think of it as a destroyer. But it is it's amazing. It's really, really good. Like, it is a cruiser without a citadel. And you can get this thing
I
to a
thought you were just talking about the
5.1
tech free ship.
detectability
No,
on
just all
it.
the
It is dumb. I mean,
tier 6 to the
let me.
legendary.
Well, I am running that. So the gunfire range is only a 12.3. So in terms of long range fire, it's not the best. Um, it has amazing armor on the side. The torpedoes are long range sea mines um, that you hope to catch stuff. But the thing that makes Elbing shine, and I think everybody knows where I'm getting with this. If you are a cruiser player, do not get near the Elbing. Don't do it. This thing is a pure cruiser hunter. Do not fuck with this thing. This thing will sink you and send you back to port so fast. It is crazy. I have never seen anything of such consistency of going after a certain class as the Elbing going after a cruiser. The AP on these guns If you need a Citadel mission done, play Elbing and go after cruisers. It will tear them up. Tear them up. And it has a good armor, like I said, 25, so you have to use AP on it when you're in a one-on-one fight with Destroyer. Hell, even almost a cruiser because of how tanky it is. You're looking at nearly 34,000 health on it. Baby cruiser, like I said, it's dumb. It's dumb. The AA's decent as well. It can hold its own against a carrier. The speed isn't great. But if this thing can get on a broadside cruiser, it will send that thing back to port so fast you don't even know what hit you. So that's all I have to say about Elbing.
Chip, you got Elbing?
Yeah, I would say Elbing is honestly worth it. It very much is. It's really consistent, best accurate guns in the game, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's one of those ships where you really want to be careful because even though that thing is a tier 8, it does not feel like it feels like it can very much will be on par with all the other like legendary tier destroyers.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like it is devastating, especially like when you have like Minotaur, like Neptune, all those kind of like cruisers. They any kind of angle they give you, it's over for them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they go broadside, you can quite literally just delete their health.
Damn,
Like just
HP
two
pulls.
salvos is all it takes from that thing.
Yep.
That's all I got though.
Yeah.
It's a very consistent
I'll
destroyer.
make it quick so we can move on to the next one, but HP pool starts off at 39 or 30.9, sorry. That's insane. Uh reload is really good. For the gun, 7.5 starting out, so you probably get that down to 5 something. Like you were saying, maneuverability is not like the top speed starting out is 36 knots. That's really good starting. Um, some of the ships in the line are like they start at like 31, and you can get them up to 36. And you got the engine boost. You don't have sonar, which is another bummer in my opinion. But a lot of times you're not gonna get close anyway, so you're gonna use that range.
It's
So
not a cap contester.
no,
It is a cruiser.
yep,
Like it is a baby cruiser. Like
yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah. Just wish I had another bow turret. You mean that you wish the configuration was 2 in the front, 1 in the back? Because that would be because if it had another turret, that'd be legendary, like a whole another turret. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna assume we're putting this at S tier.
Yeah. For what it does and the impact that it can have, I'd put it at S.
Okay.
Sort of like, we put Z-35 at S tier because I have to think about when I think about boats, I think about what is it like facing this boat.
Yeah.
And when facing a Z-35 and I'm playing a destroyer, you got to give it respect. You have to respect it as a boat. It doesn't even include the player in it, but you have to respect that boat for what it could do. And the same could be said about Elbing. If you're a cruiser player and this thing can be let loose and do whatever it wants, you have to stay away from it because it will like I said, it will send you back to port really quick. Because I'm telling you, if you need a Citadel mission done, this thing will get it for you. It's crazy what this thing can do to a cruiser.
Right. So next up, the
Uh,
Schultz.
oh,
So the gun
oh.
configuration is different. The armor scheme's a little different as well. Than compared to the Elbing. What I noticed about this ship is I personally like the gun configuration on the Schultz more than I like the Elbing configuration. I obviously haven't played the Elbing yet, but just from what I'm seeing visually, I like the gun configuration more on this one because you can angle away and um, if you need to like move forward while shooting, you can do that as well. Um, I've enjoyed it. Same thing with the Mercury, just a lot better. Harder hitting, in my opinion. And at the tier, it's just disgusting against literally anything that has more armor. And it's good against destroyers too, man. I was doing like 5k salvos on destroyers at range, 10k away, if you get the right dispersion. One thing that I was not corrected, but like it was a adjustment that who was I talking to? Oh, Bravo Foxtrot came into the stream this year or this week, sorry, and yeah, this year, sometime this year, and he had me change the aiming systems mod 1 to the main battery mod 2 that increases your traverse speed of the guns. Um, he said that the dispersion is not really affected because it's all really good. It's already really good. So when I did that, I actually did not notice a significant difference, if any difference, in the dispersion of the guns, let alone the accuracy. So the traverse speed of the guns is much more effective, and it did help me a lot more in certain situations. So credit to him for kind of like seeing that and recommending it. And now I pass it on to you guys as a recommendation too. Obviously, you build it however you want, but that's just it seemed a lot better to be able to kind of because since you are pretty slow, you don't want to rely on turning your ship to also turn your guns. You want to be able to have your guns turn a little faster in case you ever need to shoot the other side too. So with that said, I will leave it to these guys now to take over.
Chip, you want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah. The Schultz, oh man. Literally an Elbing, but with a straight up faster reload, dude. This thing's a monster, man. This thing's at its own tier. This ship might as like at this point, don't even call this thing a destroyer. This thing's a cruiser. This thing is a straight cruiser, nothing else. The armor is absurd. You have stupid armor, you can angle, you can actually like do so much with this thing. This thing is amazing at long distance fighting with the other DDs because the AP will just delete people. This is the type of DD you want to be at range against other destroyers because that AP, even though that pen drop goes down, that gives you a better chance to pen like a DD without overpenning it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just absurd, man. This thing can almost half health DBs at times. The AP is just rocking it. A cruiser could be bowing, you can still get full pins and devastate them. You can knock out their guns, everything. It's one of those ships where you wanna be steady with it. Because if you just try to pull out and you try to fight it while open water, you're basically on its own turf. This thing will rock your world if you don't know how to fight this thing. It's one of those ships where you could angle in, you could go bow on,
Right.
you could try to run away. The AP will demolish you from anywhere. It is truly a work of art for a German DD.
One thing I will say that I forgot to mention, sorry to cut you off there, is
Yeah.
comparing this to the Elbing has a lower profile, so it's a little harder to hit. Just a little
Oh
bit.
yeah.
Because if you look at the Elbing,
Oh
it's a
yeah.
little higher off the water. So, like,
Oh.
yeah, it has more armor, that 25 millimeter plating and stuff. This one has a 2, but it's smaller because it's lower to the sea level. So it does have a little bit of a lesser profile.
Yeah, it's a
But the
lot
torps get knocked
smaller.
out so fucking fast, which doesn't matter. But
It doesn't matter. You don't need
yeah,
torch when you got guns.
yeah. So, all right, Wolf,
Yeah.
finish her off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, me and Rambo play together a lot. If you watch Rambo streams, me and him are always playing every night. He's lucky he's a destroyer main. Because if he wasn't and we play tier 8, I'm playing Schultz. 100%, but I'm like, nah, I don't believe in running 2 destroyers in a division. This thing is fun. Like, it's just pure fun. It's the only, like I said, the only drop-offs that between Elbing and Schultz, because them two are very close together, is that the Schultz doesn't have the torps aren't as good because of the range, but also the AA isn't as good.
Mm.
Everything else, shit, oh Lord have mercy. The Schultz's gun configuration allows for a more aggressive play style. I think the maneuverability is a lot better on Schultz. Um, it still hits cruisers like Elbing does. The accuracy is not quite at Elbing's level, but it's good enough to really devastate.
Right.
Um, the you know, I mean, one of the really big advantages that it has is just like Marker. I run a sort of a range build on it. You can get my range is up to 14 kilometers. That's how cruisers shoot at 14 kilometers. This thing is so good at close range and long range. It in the AP, like I said, just like with Merker, you shoot some HE salvos, start a couple fires, and then switch to the AP and just start tearing stuff up. It's so hard to kill. You have over 32,000 health. It's an amazing, fun destroyer, and that's the one thing that I could say about this line is that they are fun. Like if you're having where you're like, 'cause I know we all feel it, especially with these horrible updates that's been going on. But if you want to just go have fun and put life back into the game, go play these alternate destroyers. The Schultz and Merker will bring that joy back. These things are fun, guys. They are so much fun. I can't speak it enough. Like they're amazing.
Mm.
Like I don't play destroyers. I hate destroyers, but I will play this
Because the
over and over
guns. You're a
again.
gunbow guy, yeah, absolutely.
They're so much fun.
Yep.
So much fun. That's all I gotta say.
So Schultz, I think it's safe to say put it at S tier for the tier.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Unless anyone has something. I don't know. The guns outweigh all the weaknesses in my opinion. If you play it right, it's just disgusting. I love between the Schultz and the Merker because I obviously don't have the other ones yet, but just smacking the crap out of broadside battleships is the funniest thing ever. Because I don't think a lot of these the average player base has no idea. They don't experiment with other ship types. They're gonna stick to their ship that they want to play, and they don't look at what other ships are doing and how they're built because it's gonna affect your playstyle, and you're gonna be power crept so fast if you don't pay attention. That's one of the reasons why now I start reading in on what's the new ships coming out, what's what's going to be the meta, what am I going to be expecting so that I can properly plan for it when I play standard. And I think that's that helped me enjoy the game more. But that's why we do podcasts like this. We can have a conversation, dialogue of ships that you guys might not even have, and maybe planning to get. So we've already played the ships for you to kind of see, give you a good little basis on how you should play them, and then you can adjust it to your playstyle. Yeah, there's a lot of other people that will have videos like, no, you need to play it like this. We're not gonna tell you that. We're just gonna say this is how it's been effective in game. So try this out first, and then work from there. Because I think it's a really good thing to have in this community is just the ability to share information without there being any egos involved. So anyway, Schultz S tier. I think we have. Let's see. We have Schultz, Elbing, and what was the other S tier? Oh, Z-35. Yep. So the next one is going to be the Z-52. So I'm going to head on over to the bureau and pull it up because I obviously don't have that yet.
Can't wait, man. I can't wait to get this ship. I'm speeding through it.
View ship. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guns. It has a profile similar to the Schultz. Except for the armor, I think. Yeah, the armor's different. The armor's like more like, I think it's Z-23, isn't it? What kind of hull is it? I have no idea. Anyways. So Wolf, I'm gonna start with you because I think you have a little bit more knowledge of this ship than the two of us. But if you want to go ahead and kind of start off the conversation. Or Chip.
Mm.
If...
All right, well, I guess I'll start off with it. From how I'm seeing, Z-52 is going to be just the hardest counter to every DD, especially the daring. Absolute cap contester. Because one of the things I will say though, well, seems Wolf did connection issues.
That's
From
fine.
how he's back here now.
Okay.
You know?
But
Yep.
from how Z-52 looks, it's like it goes like good base 37.5 knots. It seems pretty fast, honestly. That's actually good speed for how the other German DDs are. But one thing that really stands out for all of them though is the reload and the sonar. It's got a really fast reload,
Yeah, it
surprisingly.
starts off at 3.9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking at
Mhm.
these stats, and it kind of reminded me of the Z46 a little bit. The 15 and the 3000, and then the 4.0 reload time base.
Now,
But this is
from what I've
3.9.
seen, the torps, don't even worry about the torps. Just worry mainly about the guns, because from how it looks, the torps are only just like an accessory at this point. They're not good.
HE
They're
pen.
very subpar. It does have quarter pen, like German fashion. One of the things that will be really good though is that this thing can set fires. From how I've seen, this thing is a fire starter. Best things about it though, the AP. Now, from what we know, the AP is probably short fuse because this thing pens just about anything broadside, no matter how thin the armor is. Very good at pen angles too. If a destroyer angles on you, you can absolutely devastate them for their HP. The sonar is just the icing on top of this thing. You could contest a cap and have the whole cap sonar because I believe the cap is like 6 kilometers, I believe, in width. Either that or a little bit higher than that. But other than that, you basically have the whole cap sonar in case anyone tries to go in. Amazing.
It's
Other
interesting
than
that it
that,
says superior HE pen.
yeah, it's got
And whatever.
yeah,
I don't really pay
it's
attention to
got
that stuff anymore.
stuff.
But
Yeah. All right, now it's time for Wolfie.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So currently, at the moment, Daring is the top destroyer, hands down, bar none, the king destroyer at legendary tier. Z-52. When this thing, people get their hands on it. Let's think of Daring sitting up on uh, his little chair, his little throne. Z-50 goes up, kicks it in the nuts, laughs as Daring falls off the chair in epic fashion. This thing will become the king destroyer at legendary tier. This thing is the direct counter to the Daring, with bar none. The guns are fantastic on this thing. It has 128s. I'm not quite sure yet if it's going to have the 150s. I doubt it. So you're going to have really good reload on the guns. The HE pin is amazing. The AP is fantastic. Just like every other German destroyer of the line. Um, the HP is good. The speed and maneuverability are really good. The concealments on competitive levels par. Um, the AA is lacking, but that's sort of how every destroyer is at the tier. There's not really a standout destroyer at legendary here that has good AA that could really hold a carrier off effectively. The torps do their job at 10.5, 69 kilometers. You could build this thing torp boat. Um, the Z-23, Z-46, as we talked about, are very average. They don't excel at anything. The Z-52 can be made to excel at anything. Um, I whenever I get my hands on Z-52, the Z-52 will become a gunboat for me. The torpedoes will be just there to send them down range every time they get reloaded. But this thing is a pure cap contester. Now let's get to the best part about all of this. The thing that is going to... I've heard a lot of talks about stealth sonaring. I have not played PC. I don't know how that works. But this thing has the best sonar in the game for a destroyer. The detectability of ships is 5.9 kilometers. Once you get into a cap, nothing can outspot you. Nothing can come at you unless it's some high DPM cruiser. If it's a destroyer, this thing will destroy that other destroyer. 100%. You cannot contest a cap unless you have this cruiser support behind you. If a Z-52 is in that cap, it will outspot you and it will out DPM you. This thing is going to absolutely run legendary tier when people get their hands on it. Daring will still be fun, but I promise you, this thing is going to dethrone the living hell out of Daring. And for standard and competitive, this thing is going to be crazy, guys.
Let's not
It's
forget
cool.
one thing: stealth sonar.
Yeah.
Stealth sonar, man. That's gonna be a big one.
It's
One thing I will say, is I just kind of noticed this. The smoke screen does not last very long.
No.
77
It's long.
seconds. But the sonar is about 2 minutes. So just keep an eye on that statistic because that's going to be very important in certain fights.
But that's the thing about it, though. Like, you don't. So how a lot of us have seen destroyers,
Damn it.
these things played, is that you smoke, pop sonar, let them push into your sonar. This thing flips that on its head.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
they see you're coming because it has the high DPM. They're gonna start smoking and running. And guess what? Boom, pop sonar. You're gonna outspot them like crazy, and you take the fight to them with this thing.
Right.
I mean, I can't speak it enough. This thing is going to run legendary tier as a destroyer. It is crazy.
Yeah. I am curious how effective the AP is going to be at that tier. Because it doesn't have the alpha that a lot of the other ships have. But like I said, I know it has a faster reload and whatnot, but if it has really good pen, it's going to be disgusting. I don't see it not having that. So I'm also curious about the trajectory of the shells, like how flat they're going to be. Are they going to be typical 128s or are they going to be like high velocity? That'd be fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
That would, yeah. So with all that said, I'm gonna just go ahead and put it in S tier, as a potential. Based on what we know of it, the potential of it is gonna be S tier. But the fact that the sonar is 5.9, you have to put it up there. Even if it was an average boat, having that sonar is gonna put you above average, easy. So the potential of this ship is incredible. So we'll put it up there, and we'll see how everything goes with it. I'm excited to get it in like a month and a half or whatever. And German smokes are shit. Yeah. I just figured. I don't know. I thought I seen like 90 seconds, but 77 seconds is. It's more of a. It's literally not a smoke that you want to share for sure. You want to keep that smoke. So it's an aggressive support ship, in that, like, obviously you're spotting your DD, but you're actively out there searching out destroyers, which is what I like, and I'm glad that they're introducing it to legendary tier because it's going to make everything a little bit more balanced. But there's going to be a lot of Z-52s out there, so you're going to go against other Z-52s. So just prepare for that in the next, well, I would say 2 months from last week, I think, right? Or was it this past Monday that it came out?
Past Monday.
Okay, so it's been a week, so yeah, so like let's just say 2 months, you're gonna start seeing them. So just be ready, be prepared for when they come out. Have your builds kind of on hand because you're gonna need it at this tier. There's gonna be a lot of Z-52s. So especially 6 months from now if they're just doing like part-time whatever. So 2 to 4 months from now you can see it in standard a lot. It's going to be an incredibly good comp ship just by the stats of it. So it's basically a German super daring, really. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah. So with that said, guys, we're gonna conclude this podcast. I appreciate all of you guys, all your support. Wolf, Chip, appreciate you guys stopping in today.
Yeah.
This is Painful Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we're gonna be doing another one of these probably next weekend. Still trying to figure out what time because I got a lot of stuff going on. But thank you guys all for your support. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.